Hello guys, this is going to be my review on the Brocock Compatto, and just for fun I'll be comparing it to the Benjamin Marauder. I know that's not exactly fair since the Compatto costs twice as much, but you might be surprised with the results. Hi guys, continuing on with the review of the Brocock Compatto. I'll start by just going over the pros and cons real quick. The first thing is ergonomics. It feels very good to shoulder this rifle. The balance is good. The action is a little further back compared to a traditional rifle. So, for example, you can see how I hold this. The back of the action is right here. If I compare that to my Marauder, for example, the action's a good 4 or 5 inches further forward. So the balance is not quite as good for offhand shooting on traditional rifles as it is with the Compatto. The grip area, they give you a nice area right here, and everything just feels really dialed in. Yeah, and the balance, so that having that shifted back just makes the balance feel great. The barrel, it's got a Walther barrel, so of course you're going to have good accuracy. I'll show you some groups later. I don't claim to be a professional shooter or anything, but give you an idea anyway. The action smoothness is very good. You can hear it. It's just, I don't know if you can see from this video, but let me get a little closer here, and it's just, you know, it's very good. Decock it there. It's, I'd say it's on par, maybe a little smoother than the Marauder. The cocking, pulling back against the hammer spring is definitely easier on the Compatto. But the rest of the action is comparable, I would say, on the Marauder. Let's see what else. The repeatable power settings, this is something that I like. There are a lot of guns out there that have variable power. The Air Arms S410, for example, has like a little rheostat, and the Air Force Condors and everything, they have a little dial and everything. But the thing I like about this one is that it's just got a 3-position switch here. So right there, you can see it's on medium. Click it down, it's on low. Click it up and it's on high. And you can come back to the exact same power level every time. So that was a selling point for me, because I figure if I zero it for medium power and I want to come back to that zero and then that exact same power level, then I can. I just go back to it. So that was another selling point for me. Now the cons. The magazine price was the one major con. Where did I put the darn thing? And you know, the magazine, it does work well. I have to give it that, and it feels nice. It's made out of good materials and everything, but in the end, the magazine, it either works reliably without damaging pellets, or it doesn't. And Benjamin does that for 30 bucks on Marauder magazines, so I don't see why this one should cost 4 times as much. They do the same thing. They're both reliable. Neither one of them damages pellets. But I can buy 4 Marauder magazines for the price of one Brocock magazine. Power level selections are not that logical, and mine's a 177, and its power level selections are even better than on the 22 and the 25, I think. But on high, it's about 18 or 19 foot-pounds. On medium, it's about 17, so only 1 or 2 foot-pounds difference. And on low, it's like 12 and a half. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd like to see high should be, you know, 18 or 19, just like it is now. That's fine. Medium should be just under 12 foot-pounds. You know, that simulates it's a useful medium power level. It's good for small game out to medium distances. Also, it would be a UK legal level. And then the low power should be like 6 foot-pounds, something that's suitable for shooting indoors, like in my basement here. would still be accurate. Probably could get a couple hundred shots. So the manual is a little sparse. It has all the basics, but they could give you a lot more tips that could make it a lot more useful. For example, how to tune the trigger a little better would be good. So I also would like to see a wood stock option on this, and I see the Brocock has just come out with a new, a bigger version of this with the bottle instead of an air tube, and a couple other little things. It has the air gauges on the side, which is nice because a lot of people don't like having to look, you know, right down the end of the barrel for it. And then the skeletonized stock is nice. Since the gun is shorter overall, I find that when I stand up and I carry it, I gotta run it back up here. I can grab it here, just behind the pistol grip, and almost have my arm straight down, and the suppressor doesn't hit the ground. So very easy to carry. But what I was thinking is that as long as you're going to have a nice skeletonized stock, instead of just shaping it nicely, why not put some storage here for the fill probe and an extra magazine or two? That seems like a missed opportunity to me. And then just for you guys' information, I got a 50mm objective scope. This is a Hawk Vantage 4-12 by 50. And so I thought I needed the high rings, but as you can see, I got a ton of room here. Medium rings would have been fine, even with the 50mm. These are the Beeman Sports Match rings. So you don't really need high rings unless you prefer it. I'll show you a couple of groups, some pellet testing results, and I'll post something down in the comments below with some posts that I made on this gun in the Gateway to Air Guns forum. It'll have some more useful data for you. But and I think I'll put a photo of this. I'll embed this right after this section in the video. It'll be a little easier to see. But these groups were shot at 14 yards here in my basement with the gun well rested, with a whole bunch of different types of pellets. So I drew a bunch of dots on paper and I shot 5-shot groups just to see which ones were worth testing further. And the ones that I found were the best were the right here, Crosspin Premier Heavy. That was one ragged hole. Air Arms Heavy was even better. And of the expanding pellets, the H&N Barracuda Hunter, I think were the best. And then, you know, the medium weight pellets in general didn't do as well. But if you want to shoot medium weight pellets, the Air Arms Diablo Field was okay. But 14 yards is a pretty close range for this rifle. You should be able to shoot this out to 50 yards. So I figure if I'm getting a 1/4-inch group at 14 yards, it's going to start to get a lot bigger once you get further out. Wad cutters, totally worthless, except that they punch nice clean holes. This is 7-grain RWS Basic. Don't bother with those. I tried the H&N Cro-Magnum because I shoot a lot of squirrels and birds, but those were kind of a big clover leaf at 14 yards, so I won't bother with those either. And then since it was liking heavy pellets, I also tried the super heavy Yunjin 16-grain pellets. And that looks okay except for the one flyer over there. But still, I think too heavy. Something in the 10 to 11 grain range the rifle likes pretty well. And it does seem to like the Air Arms pellets better than the JSB. And let's see, the Barracuda Match, they were okay too, but not really on par with the Air Arms Heavies. So Air Arms Heavy is the way to go for this, for round-nosed, non-expanding pellets. A couple more things I wanted to talk about for the Compatto. A couple things that other reviewers have been complaining about. One of them was the safety. It's just a switch that you push left or right here under the trigger guard. On the right side you can see it's just black. On the left side is the red dot. And some reviewers are saying, well, you can't see the red dot from the shooting position, but Guys, this is a $1,000 air rifle. This is not made for idiots that are not going to look this over ahead of time. You look at it once, you see the red dot is on the left side, you know that fire is when you push it to the left. So if you're right-handed, you push it over and then shoot. Okay, you remember it after you look at it one time. You don't really need to see it from here unless you're a noob. And if you're a noob, you're not going to be shooting this gun. Who's going to, you know, what newbie is going to spend this kind of money on a gun? Hopefully the kind that can can remember which way is safe and which is fire. A Picatinny rail is molded here in the front of the stock. Very useful. You can put whatever you want there. You can put a flashlight, you can put a laser, you can put a bipod, you can put a front clip for a sling. That's really a good feature. As long as you're going to have a plastic stock, might as well have and molded in Picatinny rails. The grip shape is really nice. It doesn't look too fancy. The stippling, get it to focus here. The stippling offers some grip, but nothing crazy. There's kind of a dented in area here. I'm right-handed, but it's made exactly the same way on each side, so I can tell you that it'll work great for lefties also. Yeah, it doesn't look fancy, but it works great. The fill port cover, it's just got this rotating affair here. We've seen that before, right? Rotate it down and you're ready to fill, and remember to rotate it over to keep the dust out. One thing, this is one thing I really like better on the Marauder. Instead of putting the pressure gauge here, where you kind of have to put your head on the wrong end of the barrel, why not move that down to the side of the stock or the bottom of the stock somewhere, and then just put a Foster fitting here. Again, I have to say, Benjamin did the right thing with the Marauder here. You got the pressure gauge, and then you got a nice screw-off cap here, and you got your Foster fitting there, so there's no fill probe to mess around with. Well done, Crossman. Benjamin, sorry. The bolt handle. The guy, I think it was Craig at Straight Shooters, commented that in his R-Take review, that if you're doing an extended shooting session and you grab it by this serrated part of the bolt, eventually it's going to make your fingers feel a little raw. I haven't shot that many. I hand pump my gun, so I'm not shooting hundreds of shots at a time, just, you know, a couple dozen maybe. But he recommended that if you're shooting it a lot, then just pull it here by the inside part. That's better from an engineering standpoint also, because you're not torquing the bolt as much. But one thing that I did notice, now that it's getting cold here, is that this big chunky knurled bolt handle is actually really good for when you're shooting with gloves on. Which kind of makes me realize that this gun was really designed for hunting in the field and not really a lot of bench rest shooting. It'll shoot fine from the bench, don't get me wrong, but the balance for offhand shooting is great. The only way you could do better is with a bullpup, and the bullpups tend to cost more because they have linkages that you have to deal with and so forth. But between the balance, the grip, the ease of carrying, the rugged stock that's and then the you know, it's nice and solid. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels cheaper than a nice wood, of course, but there's, you know, $150 savings there. But you can operate the whole thing. You got your loaded magazine in there, get your bolt handle. It's very easy to do without taking your gloves off when you're out squirrel hunting in the winter. The moderator is pretty effective. The one that comes with the Hug-It moderator. Let's see if I can get this to focus. There we go. It's very good. From the shooter standpoint, it's quieter than you would imagine. But downrange, it's not quite as quiet as the full shrouded barrel of the Marauder. So both of them are very backyard friendly, and especially on low power, shooting about 12.5 foot-pounds. That's enough for you know, small pest birds. It's enough for headshots on squirrels out to, you know, 20 yards or something. Maybe even a body shot if it's placed right. And I usually do medium power for squirrels and low power for birds. And then high power with that extra 1 or 2 foot-pounds, the extreme spread and standard deviation goes up a little bit, and you're only getting 1 more foot-pound. So I hardly ever shoot on high power. I think when I shot that raccoon and the possum, I went for the extra couple of foot-pounds. But other than that, I just shoot low and medium for the 177. Anyway, that's it. I love the gun. It's probably gonna. I'm thinking about selling the Marauder, just because I like the Compatto so much. The balance is better for offhanded shooting. The Marauder though has a lot going for it for 500 bucks. And part of the purpose of this review is to compare the two for someone who might be thinking, what do I get if I spend twice as much? You know, it's always, sometimes with high-end things like this, it's diminishing returns, you know. And I think that's the case here. With the Marauder, you get a good solid rifle. Some things are actually better about it. It's a little quieter. It's got, I think the shrouding it's got more shrouds, as I recall, to back up to show you. But as I recall, when you take off this end cap, the shrouds go down to like about here or so. So very effective shrouding. It's got the pressure gauge in the bottom of the stock, which is a good spot for it. It's got the Foster fitting built in. Trigger is nice. The action is nice. This is an aftermarket stock. It's a first generation Marauder. You can see it's still marked made in the USA. They're not made in the USA anymore, or they're not allowed to say that anymore anyway. Assembled in the USA maybe, but anyway, it's been a really solid rifle. I bought it used for 400 bucks or something. Spent another 150 on a used aftermarket stock, and dollar for dollar, you're getting more with the Marauder than you are with the Compatto. But if I had to pick one for hunting in the field, or just to pick one as an all-around gun, I would pick the Compatto because of the repeatable, adjustable power level, the better balance, and maybe a slightly better barrel. The Crosman barrel on this has been great. It shoots about, maybe not quite as well as the Compatto, but very close. So thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all next time. Maybe add an update review with some shooting footage later on.